Are these women intent on leaving the Philippines, or they would be okay with me moving there? Moving and living in the Philippines is fantastic. I mean, you live like a king in the Philippines on like $1,000 a month.
You know, so many guys out there are so afraid to do this, and when they hear about you and other guys that went over and came back alive and successful, then they're like, oh, well, maybe this isn't just a big scam. Maybe this is real.
It is not a scam. It definitely is not a scam.
It's not. I mean, you could always find women that might play games. I mean, you're dealing with real people, right? So, you know, sometimes you might run into something like that, but, you know, for the most part, it's just people trying to meet each other, and what happens, happens. And,
that's what I found, too. Exactly. My wife-to-be, she is so genuine, so kind. I mean, it was hard not to fall in love with her.
Phil, are these women intent on leaving the Philippines, or they would be okay with me moving there? They would be happy as a clam for you to live there in the Philippines with them, Phil. The reason these women understand that, you know, doing this and looking to meet a foreign guy, usually 9 times out of 10, or maybe 80% of the time, results in them moving to another country, because that is simply where you live and where your job is. At some of us, like myself, uprooting and moving to the Philippines full-time is not an option right now, because my job and my, you know, earning potential is here in the U.S., not in the Philippines. For gentlemen who might be a little bit older than me, or maybe financially independent, or maybe currently retired already, moving and living in the Philippines is fantastic. I mean, you live like a king in the Philippines on like $1,000 a month. The cost of living there is very inexpensive compared to what we're used to. There's a lot of guys that live there, for, you know, live very comfortably on a, you know, about $1,000 a month. We've done the math, my wife and I, you know, for where we want to live when we move to the Philippines later. And this is something I'm probably going to do well before we move there, is purchase the land and build the home we're going to live in. But for about $45,000 to $50,000, we're looking at probably an acre of land and a McMansion is what I'm going to try to build. So I mean, I'm looking at, you know, a nice acre of land in north of Davao in the Tagum area, maybe a little bit outside of the main heart of the city of Tagum, but that's where most of her family is. So that's where, you know, obviously where we're going to want to live. My brother-in-law and his, you know, family are there now. So, you know, it's where we're going to probably go. So I'm going to probably look into getting the lands in the next year or two. And then, you know, over the next 10 years or so, save up and build the home that I want to build there. And I obviously want to have something, you know, 3 or 4 bedrooms, you know, maybe a pool, maybe build a few rental units on the property, have a little additional source of income based off of that. This way, you know, I can house some of her family in those too. This way they're not living in my house. I do not want relatives living in my house. I don't do it here. I don't want to do it there. But you know, that's kind of what I've been looking into doing for my retirement later on. But you know, again, if you're at that stage and moving to the Philippines and getting married to a girl and living there is something that's available to you as an option, I'm sure there's no problem. They'd be happy to have you.
too can experience the romantic adventure of a lifetime. Join men from all over the world as they take a trip and find their future brides. Check out our website at foreignaffair.net. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Then click on the notice bell to get notified every time we add something new.